come on in.
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you for asking. Was the drive fine this morning?
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. Alright, so I know we met last time, but this time I'm thinking that our session might run like 30 minutes or so. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright, so today I'm thinking that I'm just going to ask you some questions just to get to know you a little bit better and see how I can best help you as your social worker. Some of the questions I'm going to ask are going to be about different parts of your life, just like family, culture, and anything you feel comfortable sharing. So as we go through this, my goal is to kind of see what your values are and whatever goals you have for whatever part in your life you're living through right now. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Alright. I do like to reassure you and remind you that this is a safe space. Everything stays between us and these walls. The only time that I would let someone else know about kind of what we talk about in here is if you're in danger or if someone else is in active danger.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, not any right now.
Right now. Okay. Yeah, if any questions pop up as we're talking through these questions or you have any questions for me, feel free to let me know. Alright?
Yeah.
Alright, so I think we're gonna get started, and it's just gonna be some basic questions about you. So could you tell me how old you are?
I'm 22.
22, alright. And if you see me glancing down at my iPad, I'm just taking some notes just to remember some details, alright?
Okay.
And these notes are just for me.
Okay.
Alright, so you're 22. What pronouns do you use?
I use she, her.
Alright. What is your ethnicity?
I'm Hispanic. I'm specifically Mexican.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. What is your preferred language?
I prefer Spanish. It's what is more comfortable for me.
Okay. What's like your highest level of education?
Some high school.
Okay. Is that here in the United States or in Mexico?
It's in Mexico. I did up to high school in Mexico.
Okay. Do you know your income status?
No, I don't really know anything about like our money situation. I don't really touch that a lot. Yeah.
Alright. So I know that you mentioned that you identify as Hispanic, mostly Mexican. Last time we did talk about how you kind of grew up in Mexico, and I'm hearing that you did some level of education in Mexico. So as we work together, I know that culture can be a really big part of what defines like your life values and everything. So I just do want to acknowledge that we might have some differences in culture, but my goal is to hear what your lived experiences have been and what is most important to you, so I can best help you. Alright, so in this next part, I'm going to ask you a little bit about your family, and then we'll go into some culture questions. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yeah, that's okay.
Alright. So who do you consider family?
The people I consider family here are my kids and my husband. They're the only family I really have here. So that's my family here. I have some back in Mexico, but the closest family I have are my kids and my husband.
Okay. Who lives in your household with you?
My 5 kids and my husband. We all live in the same house.
Alright. So can you tell me a little bit about like what the family dynamic looks like at the house?
Yeah. So for my part, most of the days, I stay at home. I'm there mostly with my kids when they're there. But throughout the day, I mostly, tend to the house, like clean where it's needed. I would go and walk to the grocery store whenever I see that we need something for like dinner or anything that we're missing. And for my husband, he's out of the house for most of the day. He goes off and he goes to work pretty early, and then he comes back in the evening to be with us, and that's kind of like how it's always been since we've been together.
Okay. Alright, thank you for sharing that with me. So it sounds like you spend a lot of time at home with the kiddos. You're making sure everything's in place.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. So what would you say that your major role in the house is? It's sounding like you're the caregiver and the caretaker in the family. Or
Yeah.
would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I would really agree with that. I'm the one that is there with our kids most of the time, so yeah. And especially like you said for the house, I'm like the caretaker for the house as well as my kids.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like me to know about how your family dynamic goes?
Well, it's like I said earlier, like my husband's the one that mainly is the one that's working, and that kind of I don't really know a lot about our like income and stuff, and like our like stability with that, because I don't necessarily have access to knowing how much he makes. So yeah, like that's our dynamic. Like he's the one that takes care of most of that, and I'm really kind of left in the dark about that kind of stuff. So it's like two different roles.
So I'm a little bit curious about two things you've mentioned. If you could tell me a little bit about it, that would be great. If you don't feel comfortable, that's okay too. You said that you're left in the dark a lot, and that you don't really have access to knowing some of your financial situations. I'm mostly hearing that he is like the main one that goes and he works. So are you working right now?
No, I don't have a job right now. No, I just stay at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. How is your relationship with your husband?
It's good most of the time. You know, like we've been together for so long, so it's been good for most of the time. You know, there's only like a few times where it's like not as great, but you know we try to maintain like a very stable home for ourselves and for our kids. So yeah, I'd say it's good for most of it.
Could you tell me a little bit what not great means?
Well, it's just sometimes like he gets a little bit upset, and it causes us to fight, and you know, have words with each other, and that's kind of what it is with not great. Whenever he gets home from work, and he gets a little upset sometimes. So
that sounds really difficult to have to go through, especially since you care so much about your family, and from what you've told me, it sounds like you really do love your husband and your kiddos. When you say fights, what does that kind of look like?
it'll just be like whenever I like mess up in a way, he gets upset with me, and he'll tell me that he's upset with me, and just kind of keep it going like that. And most of the time it's like it's verbal whenever we argue, but yeah, he just gets really upset sometimes, especially after he's like had a little bit to drink.
Okay.
He gets upset with that.
Well, it sounds like you're very resilient. It sounds like above all, you're always thinking about your kiddos and taking care of the household. Could you give me there's something you said that stood out to me. You said sometimes when I mess up. Can you give me an example of what that could be?
Yeah. One time I remember I had tried something new out for dinner, just because it's something that I had like seen, and I wanted to try something new, because I was a little excited to show like my family something new that I had done. And I guess I had used like a different seasoning that we don't really use in our house. And when we were gonna have dinner as a family at the end of the night, he was going to eat, and he got mad at me because he said that it was different and that he didn't like it, and that like I shouldn't have like done something new if I didn't know that he would like it. And I offered to, you know, like make him something else if he didn't like it, but he was just upset by that point. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds incredibly difficult. You deserve to be able to try out new recipes without feeling like, it sounds like you're feeling like you're walking on eggshells a little bit. It sounds like you don't know what the expectations are.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should be able to try out some recipes and feel safe in doing so. So that's a lot to go through. Thank you for sharing all that with me. Is it okay if we move on to a different part of your life and we kind of talk about culture? Before we do, is there anything else you want to share with me regarding like family and like at home?
No, just, you know, like that's kind of our like home life right now, you know, like my kids and I and like my husband, like that dynamic with him. And you know, my kids, like they're fine at home, you know, like they're playful and everything. So yeah, no, I don't think there's anything else.
Okay. Well, if anything else comes up later on, we can definitely talk about it.
Okay.
All right. So I know you've grown up in Mexico and you've recently moved over here, and that can come with a lot of challenges. There is a little bit of a language barrier going on, but I'm really interested in knowing a little bit about like your culture and like what your values are.
Yeah. So growing up in Mexico, my family raised me Catholic. Like everyone in my family is Catholic. So I still try to practice, even whenever I moved over here, just because it makes me remember back home and growing up over there. So that's like a really big thing that I keep with me, my religion. And growing up over there, I was very surrounded by my family, you know, like because we were all living like in the same area. So we would all have like dinner together sometimes, and you know, sit around the table together. And that's still something that I try to do here with my family that's here, because I remember like all the good memories that I had whenever we would all sit together and stuff. So I just want to, you know, try to give that to my kids too, so that they can have like good memories like I did when I was a kid. So I'd say like that's a big value of mine too, family. Yeah, just because like I remember how important it was to me growing up, and it still is today. And you know, I kind of wanna give that to my kids too.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that family plays a big part in your life, when you were growing up and even now.
Yeah,
I can definitely see it with how much you care for them too. You're making a great job in following those life values and living authentically that way. Right. Is there any like customs that come in your culture, like anything that might be like traditional that still plays into your life now?
A lot of things that I like still try to follow is with my religion. Growing up, my family would always, you know, take us to church every Wednesday and Sunday, and I still try to hold true to that whenever I can go. It's a little bit of a distance away from the house now, so I can't really go whenever I want to. I have to like kind of plan it around the day, but you know, I still try to do that because that still means a lot to me, and that's one of like the biggest customs that I still try to hold true to this day. And like with our family dinners too, like I try to keep that going. And you know, just like implementing prayer beforehand, like my mom and dad used to do. I try to keep that up too with my kids.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds like you have some great great things going on. It sounds like church is a really like nice community, but I did notice that you said that it's a little bit different now. It's a little further away.
Mm-hmm.
Did you recently move, or is there like transportation stuff going on?
It's mainly with the transportation stuff. Just you know, me and my husband have one car, and he uses it to go to work. So I try to go during the day because that's when like they have church with like, you know, when it's in Spanish and not in English. And I try to go to the ones during the day, but sometimes, you know, I try to look at the bus schedule, and sometimes, you know, it can be down, or it's just not running at the correct time, so I don't make it on time, and it makes it a little bit difficult to be able to get there.
Okay. Yeah. That's something that we can work together to figure out and see if there's any like good plans and strategies. It sounds like you're navigating it very well. But if you would like some extra support in that, I'm more than happy to do that with you.
Yeah.
Alright. So I know we talked a little about some religion and some culture stuff. Is there anything else you would like me to know about religion? We kind of hit on both points together. Would you say, I'm just curious to know, would you say that your culture and your religion are heavily intertwined?
I would say they are.
Okay.
Yeah, just because, you know, like like being Catholic is kind of like a big thing within like my culture. So I think a lot of customs and traditions that would be like seen as separate for both of those are like kind of the same for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear a lot of similarities. I was just curious to see if I was correct in what I was hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Alright. Do you feel comfortable moving on to a different part of your life right now? Okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
Alright. So I'm curious to hear how you're doing, like your psychological. So that just kind of means like your mental health. Like physical health is very important, and we will talk about that in a second. But I do want to take care of your mental health as well. So that just kind of means how you're feeling, how you've been doing lately. So how have you been doing lately?
You know, I've been doing okay recently. You know, I've been doing better than last time that we talked.
Okay.
So I think like, you know, I'm not like great, right? But I'm okay. I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. When you say you're not doing great, what would great look like?
Not having worry.
Okay.
Like, because I'm doing okay just because like I do worry a lot. But it's like not at the very present of my mind currently. Like it's kind of in the back. So I think great would be if I didn't have that.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, when I hear worry, what makes you worry? Like, what are those thoughts that causes those feelings?
I think it has a lot to do with worrying if I'll upset my husband, and I don't necessarily know how not to do that. So I think it's just worrying like if I do, like what will happen like after that. And it's worry too for my kids too, just kind of like tying into that. I think it's like worrying for them. Like I don't want them to like, you know, see my husband get mad. So I think it's just a little bit of both of those things.
Alright. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I know it can be one thing to have those thoughts, but once you say them out loud, I know it can be a little bit scarier too. When you say you don't want to upset him, what kind of comes to mind for me is when you share that you did the cooking recipe and you didn't mean to upset him. So it just seems like there's like this unspoken rule, like you're walking on eggshells. Would you say that kind of is where the worry is stemming from?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that you say it like that, I think that is kind of where like my worry comes from.
Okay.
Just like having to be, I guess, careful
Okay.
in my own house.
Mhm.
So yeah, like you say, like walking on eggshells. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I just want to reassure you that you deserve to feel safe in your household. You deserve to not have these worrying thoughts. You deserve to be able to make some cooking recipes without worrying about upsetting someone or among other things, you know? Would you say this worry kind of comes into like a level of anxiety that you might be feeling?
Yeah, I think it definitely like
Okay.
it's like worry and anxiety kind of are. I want to think like in my own head like one and the same. Like when I worry, I think it causes me more to feel more anxiety.
Yeah.
So I think yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Alright. Is there anything that gets you through those feelings of like discomfort and worry and anxiety? Is there any, I like to call these protective factors. It's just something that kind of keeps you going and gets you through hard times.
Yeah. Whenever I start to feel like worried and like anxious at home, and I'm by myself, because I like get those feelings like before he gets home. I try to like keep myself busy, and I like to clean a lot. So I just start to pick up like a lot of the kids stuff. Start to like do laundry, like go and clean the kitchen. And while I'm doing that, I sometimes play music in the background, like music that I grew up with. Just so like I can have that on, and I can like listen to that rather than like keep constantly like thinking in my head.
Yeah, so I'm hearing two really good coping skills. I'm hearing music and cleaning. I'm curious to know, have you always been a cleaner, or is this something that's recently started being a coping skill?
No, I think I've always liked cleaning ever since I was a little girl. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember growing up, my mom and I, we would wake up on the weekends and play music and clean together all around the house. So I think I've always liked it.
Okay, good. And it's also stemming from like one of your values that I'm hearing a lot. It comes from family. It comes from those good memories.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Awesome. Well, I'm really glad you have those two coping skills going on for you. Is there anything else that you would like to share about your mental health? I'm wondering if there's any like feelings of sadness going on.
Yeah, I also have like some of those feelings too.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess I just don't really like think about like feeling sad as much.
Okay.
But it is there. It's just I feel like anxiety over most of it, and I hadn't really like thought about.
And the reason I bring up sadness is because I have noticed that most of the time worry and sadness kind of come in a pair. So I like to ask about sadness too when it comes in, but I'm hearing that it's a little bit more worry and anxiety, and then sadness is kind of, it's still there, but it's smaller. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Alright. How have you been sleeping lately?
I try to get good sleep every night. I try to, but sometimes like I slept well last night. I slept pretty well. I woke up feeling like well rested. But sometimes like I'm not able to get full rest like I want to, just because sometimes it's like late nights and I wake up and get the kids ready so that they can go to school, and just prep some stuff for my husband before he has to head to work. So I sleep good sometimes, but other times it's like I could probably sleep a little bit more.
Yeah, would you say it's more than half the days that you're sleeping well, or less? Like, how many days out of the week would you say?
I would say about like 2 or 3 days out of the week I sleep
You sleep well?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, and the reason I ask about sleep is that sometimes our sleep is tied into how we're doing up here in our mental health, but then it ends up affecting our rest of our body, so our physical health.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you feel comfortable talking a little bit about like physical health next?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Alright. Do you have any like previous diagnoses that you know of?
No previous diagnoses. I've never gone to be like, so I don't have any like previous
Okay.
ones. Yeah.
Is there any like pain that's going on? Any like limitations that you've noticed?
No, just recently I think I like hurt my arm a little bit, so like it hurts to move it a little bit, but I think it's healing well because I've been able to move it more.
That's good. I'm glad you're improving.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious to hear about what led to that arm injury.
I think it had to do with it didn't heal right whenever from last time that I saw you when I got out of the like intensive care.
Okay.
And I was cleaning one day, and I think I overextended it and didn't let it really like heal properly. So I think it just needed more time to like heal, and I've been doing that, so it's getting better now.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you gotten it checked out recently? I know we did talk about that recent ICU admission, and this happened after our last session.
It was
okay.
Yeah. And it's I haven't gotten it checked out recently, but I think I don't think I need to, just because like it's getting better.
Okay.
So yeah.
Alright, yeah, let's definitely I'll follow your lead. But if it does end up getting a little worse or it doesn't heal a little bit, I can find some resources to give you to get that checked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it gets worse, I'll let you know so that we can.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Before your ICU admission, had you ever had any other hospitalizations prior to that?
No.
No. Okay. So this was the first time you had gone to the ICU.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about what happened how do you go to the ICU?
It was whenever my husband got home from work one day. I think he was already upset about something that had happened at work. I can't remember correctly. But I think like something had already gone wrong, and he came home a little upset already just because of work. And I was like, hey, like, I made you food, like if you wanna like have some, like we're gonna have dinner. And we had dinner. It was mostly quiet for most of dinner. Like it was the kids, talking and playing. It was quiet from him. And it was getting towards the end of the night, and he had been drinking a little bit. And I can't remember what exactly I asked him, but he didn't like that I had asked him something, and he just kind of, started raising his voice with me. And I was trying to defend myself like by talking back, and he didn't really like that, so it kind of just escalated from there. And I made sure before I asked him anything, I made sure my kids were asleep in bed. But yeah, no, it just kind of escalated from there, and some things got a little physical, and I tried to defend myself in that way too by like kind of like blocking him, and I think that might have upset him a little bit more. And yeah, it kind of led to me having to go to the ICU afterwards. He felt really bad after, and he took me, and I was there for a few days. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with me. I know it can be really scary to think about those moments where we felt afraid. But the one thing that really stands out to me is that before even protecting yourself, you thought about your kiddos, and that just speaks volumes about how much you care about them and how much you do value family. But again, I know this can be really difficult to talk about, so I really appreciate you sharing those moments with me.
Yeah.
It also sounds like when your husband comes home and he's had a bad day, it almost sounds like you need to analyze how he's feeling to know how to approach him. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, because sometimes I see that he kind of gets home like in a mood, and I don't want to, put him more in a mood. So yeah, sometimes I have to watch how I am around him on some days.
Okay. When you say watch how you are, I can't imagine how tiring it can be to be on guard and having to watch like what you're doing without knowing what might upset him.
Yeah, it can be sometimes.
Yeah. Alright, so for this next part, I am going to say that I'm going to give you a magic pillow. And bear with me, okay? I know it's a little silly.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a magic pillow. And you're going to go to sleep with this pillow. And when you wake up the next day, your life will be different. It will be better. It will still be your life, but it's going to feel better. What are some things that you've noticed that have changed since you slept with this magic pillow?
Like anything? I guess it would be like I wake up and I don't immediately feel worried, I think, or like, wake up and immediately like feel like I have to, start getting ready and like keep me busy right when I wake up, just because I'm trying not to think about like what can happen later in the day. I think that would be like the biggest thing that comes to my mind first if I had a magic pillow. Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing for me, just to not be so worried and anxious when I wake up, because that's like the big thing. Like it's like I said, like I'm okay today, but some days it's a little harder than others.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you would like to feel safe and have that reduced anxiety and worriedness. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright. So let me say that I give you some other magic pillows, but these are for your kiddos, okay?
Yeah.
So if they went to sleep with these magic pillows and they woke up the next day, what do you think would be different for them?
I think they wouldn't have to really see us, me and my husband, argue, because it's not every day that we argue, but I know that my kiddos can still, hear it, and I think they know what's happening. And I was just like, if they were to have these magic pillows too, I would want them to wake up and like not have to, see that anymore or hear it.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the biggest thing for them right now, just to not like worry about that.
Okay. So like to kind of decrease their worriedness about what's going on with mom and dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask, have your kiddos ever told you that they are worried?
You know, just my oldest has maybe said it out loud.
Okay.
And even when I say my oldest, she's like 6 years old. She's only mentioned like asking like why are we like, you know, talking to each other that way, and I'm just like, no, like, you know, we're talking. But the rest of my kids sometimes they say that they don't really sleep, and they ask me if something's wrong, whenever it's like you say, like I do get a little sad, and sometimes I get like really sad, and my kids can see that, and they ask me if like I'm okay. So they don't really ask if I'm worried. They more ask like if I'm okay, and I see that they don't sleep, and you know, it's just that.
I can see how much you care for them and their well-being, especially like using their magic pillow wish for them to be a little bit more comfortable at home.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's like this overall like tension going on with like the presence of your husband sometimes coming in and having to like assess his mood and seeing what kind of day you're gonna have. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't have magic pillows, but what we can do is I'm thinking that based off everything you've told me today, and from my notes I can see that we are really have like a big value for family, right? We care about our kiddos. Religion can be a really good protective factor that we talked about. You're recovering from your health, and we have some anxiety, a little bit of sadness.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we would want to decrease the anxiety and then have some increased comfortability at the house.
Yeah.
So you know when kiddos are starting to walk and they're crawling and then they kind of toddle around, and then before you know it they're walking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm gonna set some baby goals for us today. And what my hope is for these goals to kind of guide us in the right way to get you to those spots. Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is that I know we talked a little bit about a language barrier, and I think if we got into some ESL classes, so English as Second Language classes, that were within like walking distance in your community, or like we can figure out the transportation together, we can get you there, and that's gonna open up so many more doors for you.
Yeah, I
think so.
I really think that would help a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a good one, a good plan.
Yeah, I would really like that.
Yeah. And for another goal that I thought about while we were talking today was to find some safe spaces. It sounds like we are sending kiddos to their rooms before anything happens. But as your social worker, I also want to take care of you. I know you're wearing so many hats, you're taking care of your kiddos, you're taking care of the house. I would also like to take care of you so you can be there for them. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm thinking is that we're gonna find 3 safe spaces in the community that if things were to get a little bit rocky, you could go with your kiddos and kind of be safe and have like kind of decompress, take a breather. Does that sound like something that would be good?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for me and my kids to have to go to.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I'm thinking those can be our 2 goals for now, to get us to a good point where we're decreasing the worriedness and increasing feeling comfortable and being safe.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see. For now, I really did hear some good coping skills that we talked about. We talked about religion and church. We talked about praying. I think cooking can even be a good coping skill for you. You mentioned that you like to try new recipes.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, so that can be a good coping skill, and I heard some music going on there too. Okay.
Yeah.
Does playing with your kiddos make you happy too? It's a good skill.
Yeah, whenever I see them playing, sometimes I like to
Okay,
go
yeah.
and play with them too.
For sure.
So yeah, that I really like to do
I
that.
can see like the instant smile on your face thinking about it too.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm seeing a lot of resilient points in you and lots of strengths that we have. So I'm thinking that if we work together and that we see each other next week, I can have those resources that we talked about having the safe spaces in these ESL classes, and we can build those baby steps to getting you to a good safe point with less anxiety and taking care of your kiddos so they can be more playful in safe spaces. I do want to let you know that you can call me at any time if anything else comes up in the meantime. I will be asking you about your arm next time, so let's see how that goes too. I will follow your lead for that.
Yeah.
But as your social worker, I want to make sure that we take care of you so you can take care of the people you love.
Yeah. If anything, happens like during that time, like if my arm maybe gets a little worse, is it okay if I can call you
Yes.
during that so that we
Yes.
can like maybe work on that?
Yeah, for sure. You can give me a call at any time. I'm also here in the office Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You know where to find me. I will be right here for you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Alright, well I think these are some good steps. I really appreciate you coming in and being so open and vulnerable with me in this space. So I will see you next week and we will go based off of these notes and we will get you working on those steps. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah,
Alright.
that sounds good.
Alright, sounds good. Well thank you so much, Lupita, for coming in.
All right. Thank you.
Alright, yeah. I still feel like my first one was better.
You're literally fine. Hey, how do you?
I have to put the notes.
So yeah, we're gonna take yours.